Your FAM, as we call them, and Jimmy and Bridget are both our FAMs, our freshman advising mentors, will hold their first meetings this week. So students, please make sure that you're looking out for an email with a Zoom link, a date, and time. I will be joining those meetings just for a quick pop-in. I will show students how to schedule appointments with me starting next week. So make sure that you're checking your email for those FAM invites. Neighborhoods will receive mentorship from a Gabelli School resource team made up of an academic advisor, upper class student mentors, again, those FAM, alumni advocates, faculty member, and a professional development advisor. Again, students, you'll engage in weekly synchronous sessions with your resource team. And so each resource team member will host a different meeting. The summer experience will culminate with a neighborhood project. The neighborhoods will remain intact through the academic year for consistent advising. And so once the academic year begins, we'll have advising once about every 3 weeks. I will host large group sessions with broadcasting some major and general information, and then you'll break up into your neighborhoods with your small group and your FAM to get more individualized instruction. Again, all of this information, I know I've thrown a lot at you, and I've tried to stop myself from giving dates because all of that information, as well as the dates, are in an email that I sent last week called Welcome to Gabelli SMART, again, S-M-A-R-T. So students, if you haven't seen that email, go into your Fordham email and search that title, Welcome to Gabelli SMART, which holds all of the dates for your meetings. So as I mentioned, Bridget and Jimmy are both 2 of our FAM members, and I know and I believe that the real meat and the importance of our program here is in our students. And so Bridget, Jimmy, and I will be co-hosting this session to answer your question. So I'd first like to ask Bridget to jump in, just do a quick introduction of herself, talk a little bit about her involvement in Gabelli and what has made her experience unique.
Hi everyone, I just wanted to extend another big welcome to Gabelli. I know that going into your freshman year can be scary, so hopefully these webinars will help to answer a few questions for you that you may have. So like I said, my name is Bridget and I'm from Massachusetts. I'm currently at home right now. And as Dean Parr said, I am majoring in business administration with concentrations in marketing and communications and media management, and then a minor in digital technologies and emerging media, which seems like a lot. And it was definitely something that when I came in undecided, business admin as my intended major, but I had no idea what I wanted. And one way that I was able to kind of narrow it down and figure out what my path was going to be was through meeting with the deans. So as a freshman, I would always, make sure that I went up to the freshman dean, who was not Dean Parr, it was someone else, but who was still involved in the dean's office. But just scheduled a meeting, and I went in and I said, look, this is what I think I want to do, but I'm not sure. How can I kind of make sure that my Gabelli experience is going to work towards that career goal? So for my example, I really am interested in being in the entertainment industry and doing music management. And, Gabelli is known a lot for finance and accounting. And I knew that those were 2 great options, but I knew that those didn't really work with my skill set and what I wanted to do. So I was told, look, freshman year, you get your classes out of the way, the ones that you need to take to get through the sophomore cohort. And by the time you run through the sophomore cohort, you're going to hit something, and it's major declaration day. And on that week, actually, it's not a day, it's a week, you go in and you have an appointment with the sophomore dean, Dean Decker, and you sit down and you talk about what your future goals are, what your plans are, what classes you liked and what classes you just didn't think were as interesting or not necessarily your favorites. And you are able to work out what major and what concentrations really work for you. So I went in and I knew that business admin was a very wide-reaching major. So I knew that that was something I wanted to stick with, but I loved my marketing class. I really, really enjoyed, being able to pitch something and the whole aspect of working in what, consumers thought about something. So I decided that was going to be my primary concentration. And then Dean Decker, who's the sophomore dean, suggested that I have a secondary concentration in communications and media management because other alumni who were interested in the entertainment industry had used that as their secondary concentration and they found it beneficial. So I also decided that day that I would declare my secondary concentration. And then with minors, there's a whole list of minors. You can minor in a Gabelli School minor or in a Fordham College Rose Hill or Fordham College Lincoln Center minor. So for me, I decided to minor in digital technologies and emerging media, which is under the communications department at Rose Hill. And for me, that was something I decided this past spring, and I was able to declare it just by emailing the head of the department and knowing that I have to meet these certain requirements, which are, take a few electives and a few basic courses that are held within this minor. And all of that information is readily available online through DegreeWorks, which is a program that is used to kind of map out what classes you have to take in order to graduate with your intended majors. And there's even a what if function. So you can say, what if I wanted to major in accounting, but also have a minor in music? And it will show you exactly what classes you need and how you can get those, things that you want out of Gabelli and out of Fordham. And one of my favorite experiences that I've been able to partake in while at Fordham and in Gabelli was definitely study abroad. I went abroad last fall, so fall 2019, and I went to Fordham's London Center, which is directly in the center of London. It was honestly the best semester I've ever had. I loved it so much. I was so nervous going in because a lot of my friends were still staying back at Fordham in the Bronx, and I wasn't sure how it was going to work out with taking classes and traveling, but for me it was something that I really enjoyed. I went in, not having my closest friends, but I made a lot of friends. There's a program trip that you take. The Fordham College kids go to one city, and then the Gabelli kids go to another city. So Gabelli went to Rome, and it was so much fun. I became really close with my classmates there. And you also, had this freedom to travel if you'd wanted, or you could stay in London, which for me, I loved being able to walk around and go to all of the parks. The museums are free. And it was a really great experience, and it definitely helped to broaden my horizons as to what's out there, because Gabelli is so centered in New York City, but definitely London was a great experience for me. And speaking of that, we're going to talk to Jimmy, who should have been in London right now had it not been for the pandemic. But Jimmy has been a great sport, and he's going to tell you a little bit more about the business cohort.
Yeah, so as Dean Parr said, and thank you, Bridget, I am Jimmy Doherty. I am a rising junior majoring in public accounting. I'm from just outside of Philadelphia. And then on campus, I'm also in RA. I drive the Ram van. I'm in the Ignite Scholars Program, and my freshman year, I was lucky enough to participate in the Manresa Scholars Program. And similarly to Bridget, I came into Gabelli kind of undecided about my major. I thought I might be interested in accounting, but I really had no idea. So in the fall semester of your freshman year, we take a ground floor class, which kind of exposes you to every aspect of business from it gives you a broad overview of it. And being a Manresa scholar my freshman year, you have a semester-long project where you have to create a business plan. And being a Manresa scholar, our business plan had to be one that would benefit the local community. So that kind of ties another thing that I love about Gabelli into it, which is the business with purpose mantra. I thought that was a really, really special part of coming to Gabelli and having a Jesuit education in general. I've actually gotten many opportunities through Fordham Social Innovation Collaboratory to be involved on working to use business for good. I was also in a club, Social Innovation 360, which is a club that's focused on promoting socially innovative entrepreneurs to create small businesses. And we got to pitch down in the World Trade Center on the final weekend. It was an awesome, awesome experience. I've also gotten to go on a global outreach trip to India my freshman year, which was absolutely amazing. So, and then another in your sophomore year, you participate in the cohort, which Bridget briefly mentioned, and I'm just coming off of that. In both the fall and the spring semesters, you're in a cohort, which means you take all of your classes with the same 40 people or so in the fall, and you're put on a team to work on a semester-long consulting cup project. Basically, you get assigned a company. In my case, it was United Airlines, and you have to find a problem with their business and then create a solution. Luckily, I was in the social innovation cohort. There's 2 cohorts now that it's the same consulting cup project, but you have to have a socially innovative solution. And I think it's really, really cool because in the cohorts, you take a class in marketing, you take an accounting class, You really get exposed to every aspect of business. You also take a business communications course to work on your presenting skills. I really learned a ton of PowerPoint this year. And it's so much fun because you're in every class with your friends, and then there's like a fun competition, fun competitive drive. You become best friends with all of your teammates. And then the skills that you're learning in marketing classes and accounting classes, you are actually getting to take outside the classroom and put them to use trying to solve a real business problem. So that experience over the past year has been one of the most rewarding experiences I've had thus far in Gabelli, and I really, really enjoyed it. And it is really what allowed me to make my decision come major declaration week to be a public accounting major. So now we're going to open it up to some questions.
Folks, if you have any questions, please use the Q&A feature at the bottom. We're here and we're happy to chat about our experience. Again, if it's about registration, which just happened last week, if anybody has any remaining registration questions about internships, placement, what your courses will be for your first year, we're happy to answer your questions.
I think one thing is definitely to speak on the experience of internships being a Gabelli student. Being in New York City has so many incredible opportunities for you to intern at some of the top companies all across all fields and across the entire globe. Coming into Fordham, I decided to intern at WFUV, which is the NPR radio station that is located on campus in the basement of Keating Hall. So the famous bell tower, what you might not know, is there's a fully functional radio studio beneath it. And through that experience, I was an audio engineering intern. So whenever artists would come in for sessions and record live, I was in charge of plugging in guitars and moving drums and, you know, greeting them and making sure everything ran smoothly, as well as recording. And through that, I was able to network with a few people within the music industry, which got me my first outside internship this summer leading up into my junior year at McManagement in Brooklyn. And that was an incredible experience that I wouldn't have gotten had I not gone to Fordham, because I was able to make that connection at Fordham at WFUV, which is something that I'm really proud of, because I think networking is something that is so scary at first, but it's definitely touched upon so much throughout advising and throughout classes. You know, we're always told network, 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 use your network. And you're really able to take those, you know, little bits and pieces of advice and then turn it into an opportunity if you're willing and able to, you know, just put that fear aside and go up to someone and introduce yourself and, you know, give your little elevator pitch and try to learn more about, you know, someone who's doing something you may be interested in. And that experience was something that I was so happy to have, and it really led me to my current internship, which is at Madison Square Garden. So I was there in the spring working with the booking and ticketing department for all live events. So any concerts or comedy events that were coming through, I was doing the back end of that. And then this summer, I'm a virtual intern for their productions team, which is working on creating content for a venue that they're making. And all of those opportunities definitely, you know, anyone has access to, but I think that definitely what you learn in Gabelli and what Fordham offers as a whole with career fairs and networking events and PPD, which is professional development, you know, I was able to go in and say, hey, I'm a marketing concentration, and I met with someone in PPD who was a marketing professional for many years and now works there to help connect students with jobs in the industry. So she went over my resume, we had practice interviews, I met with the team of campus recruiting at MSG at a Fordham event, and I went through the career fair. So I'd been networking with those individuals since my freshman year because I thought it might be something I'm interested in. And it really did, you know, come full circle, and now I'm there. So, you know, those resources, you don't need an internship your freshman year. You shouldn't have one your sophomore year, because the cohort is something you should really put all of your time into. And then after that, you know, it's just building up all of those little things, and then you're able to kind of capitalize on it when it's the right time. And I don't know, Jeremy, if you have any experiences you want to speak on?
Yeah, so one thing that I want to add to what you just said is, one, in classes, we learn a ton about networking. Like, you hear networking so much that you might get tired of it, but it is so important. And you mentioned a ton of great resources, but one thing that I wanted to add on is that being in like the financial capital of the world, many of our professors have years and years of experience at some of the top companies. And with that comes many, many professional connections. So my professors have put me in touch with people that they know at different accounting firms, for example, and they've really been an advocate for me as I've searched for internships, and they've helped connect me with positions. Just this spring, I know Bridget said not to intern during sophomore year, and honestly, I wouldn't recommend it. It was kind of crazy of me. I had like 3 jobs, but I was a tax intern at Butchbinder Tunick, which is a small CPA firm in the city. And it was such a cool opportunity. And Dean Decker, the sophomore dean, really helped me tailor my schedule to allow me to work 2 days a week from 9 to 5, like full days in the city, but then also take a full course load. So a special thing about Fordham is the proximity to the city, the professional networks that it will provide to you, and then also how willing like deans and professors are to work with you to help you do what's best for you and what you want to achieve. Like that's been a really, really special part of my Gabelli experience.
Thank you, Jimmy and Bridget, so much for that input. The first question I want to ask pertains to internships, and both of you can answer that. How do internships look for freshman year? Is it better to have an internship freshman year? What is the competition like? Just like a general overview about that.
I would say, one, I don't recommend interning your freshman year at all. I think that really what you should be doing your freshman year is, like I said, is just kind of exploring. So go to the career fair, go to a few of the, maybe they have a site visit for a certain company where people from career development, PPD have connections, and then you're able to go visit this, company headquarters, sit in on a few, interest groups on different campus, different companies will come to campus, and you can, sit in and maybe have a coffee with someone who works there. But do not intern your freshman year. You really should be, focusing on working your way into the Fordham community. So joining clubs, working, with your dorm, maybe joining RHA or CAB or one of the larger campus organizations, which really, gives you a good way to meet upperclassmen, and just focus on your schoolwork, because in the end, you still have those next 3 years to decide what you're doing and to make those connections and to move forward with the internship process. So for me, my freshman year, WFUV, it's technically labeled as an internship, but it's somewhere between the lines of a club and also like student work. It's a weird gray area, but it was definitely for me more of like a club experience. So I joined that. I was on the rowing team for a semester and a half, which was great because it exposed me to college athletics and NCAA, but it wasn't for me. And I knew that in the end, it was better for me to focus on the clubs I was super interested in. So I also joined Fordham Marketing Association. I was on RHA, which is Resident Hall Association. So I helped plan events for my dorm. I was a Manresa Scholar as well as Jimmy. So I, was really involved with that. And for that, you have to go through certain programs. So you would volunteer within the community and also just, explore New York, explore the Bronx, walk around Arthur Avenue, go to the zoo, run in the Botanical Gardens, and don't worry about internships. Really focus on getting your, good grades and enjoying your classes and learning, and then making, this web and community within Fordham.
Yeah, I definitely couldn't agree more with what Bridget just said there. I know it sounds kind of like you're going to college and you're so excited to like start your career right now, and you really want to intern and get as much work experience as you can. But college is 4 years long for a reason, and when you go, it's an adjustment. Like it's definitely an adjustment. Gabelli's so welcoming. Fordham is amazing. I've loved every second there, but it can be a little overwhelming if you go and you're trying to intern while also adjusting to college and make friends. It's a lot of change at one time. So I definitely wouldn't recommend interning. And I am somebody that worked all throughout high school, so I really missed having a job and making a little money when I got to school. So if that's something that's important to you, I definitely wouldn't recommend interning, but there's also many jobs on campus available to you. Like you could, for example, ref an intramural sports league. I know some of my friends were lifeguards. I drive the Ram van. There's a lot of on-campus positions. You can also work in the library. So if you're worried about like making some money just to have like spending money, there's on-campus positions that would allow you to not spend hours commuting, and they wouldn't really overburden you. Because freshman year can definitely be an adjustment. And like Bridget said, there's so many opportunities on campus that I really couldn't stress it enough. I know it sounds like, oh, you shouldn't get an internship. Like, why not? But trust me, the people that make these rules know what they're talking about.
And Bridget and Jimmy gave the nice answers. First year students are not allowed to have internships. So we to just reiterate everything that they said, the idea is not only that we want students to be engaged on campus, but we know that there are a plethora of things in order to get their interests sparked. And so students, when you enter your business cohort, which Jimmy talked about, we really want you to decide and discover what you like. We want you to explore and then dive into internships. Clubs on campus, Bridget mentioned CAB, student government. The dean's office has dean's council, and that is a real leadership position for first year students to take. That will be the time of an internship, and it will absolutely be the experience of an internship. But first year students are not allowed to hold internships with their course loads.
Thank you. That was very elaborate. We appreciate that. The next question actually pertains to the Manresa Scholars Program. Jimmy and Bridget, you both participated in it. Can you explain your personal registration process and a little bit more of what you did while you were there?
So I know that this year the registration process has looked different due to like the current situation, but my freshman year, we were able to find out earlier about Manresa acceptances, so the dean registered us for our classes. But basically, the only registration difference, as far as I'm aware, Dean Park, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you're in a ground floor class with just your Manresa Scholar, your fellow Manresa Scholar participants in Gabelli. And the ground floor class is a little different. I kind of touched on this earlier, because instead of just creating a business plan in general, you have to create a business plan that positively affects the Bronx community. And what was the second half of that question? I apologize.
Just your process and how you, like, what your personal experience was in the Manresa Scholars Program, what you got out of it.
Yeah. So I think the coolest part of the Manresa Scholars Program, aside from Loyola Hall being an awesome dorm building, was that you are living with a lot of like-minded people that wanted to go the extra step to kind of live the Jesuit values. Dean Parmack, who is in charge of the Manresa Scholars Program, he put on a ton of sessions where you reflect on what's important in your life, like what you can do to be of service to others. You have to participate in shared expectations, which entails like doing community service programs, a spiritual reflection program. Father Lito, who's the director of campus ministry, I believe, he lives in Manresa and he puts on weekly mass on Thursday nights. He's an awesome, awesome guy. It's just, Manresa, it really made my freshman year because I was surrounded by people, like-minded people that wanted to have a purpose beyond themselves. And I thought that was a really, really awesome part of my freshman year. Bridget, do you have anything to add?
I would just honestly echo everything you've just said. And I know that a good amount of my friends were in the Manresa program, but a lot of my friends who weren't in the Manresa program were still able to, join in on similar experiences if that was something they were looking for. They just came from different places. It wasn't necessarily scheduled by the dorm.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We hope that was helpful. Next question pertains to the summer after freshman year. What did the summer look like for both of you? What should you be preparing during the summer going into your sophomore year? How does that look?
For me, I took a summer class because I had, I needed to complete a class. I had to take a calculus class before well, you can take it later, but I chose to take it over the summer. I took a calculus class at a local college near me back home, and then I just worked a retail job that I had in high school. I didn't want to intern. I don't think you need to intern. And honestly, enjoy that might be your last summer where you're not necessarily interning and, things aren't as crazy. So just you can just relax and, just treat it as a normal summer. And, just make sure you keep up, check your email every day in case something comes up, and, just reach out to your friends who you made at school and your friends at home, and you can really do whatever you want with it. I wouldn't say that interning that summer puts you at a better position, or not interning puts you at a disadvantage. It's whatever works for you.
I definitely agree. It doesn't sound very glamorous, but over the summer I actually I did landscape management for my township, so we were just like cutting the lawns in the different parks. And to be honest, leading up to the summer, I was kind of like blanket applying for every internship that I could find on Handshake, because I was really stressing myself out. And this is like a bad thing, but one of my roommates, who's also one of my best friends, he's like a real go-getter, and he had an internship lined up. And I feel like it's really easy, especially as a freshman, to kind of compare your career progress to the people around you. So I was kind of stressed, like, oh, I didn't have an internship. Like, am I going to be okay? Like, will it work out for me? But it was really fine. Like, I just enjoyed the summer. I worked a normal job. I got to spend time with my friends from home. And I also got to see some of my Fordham friends over the summer. And looking back on it, I really, really appreciate that I was able to take that time to just kind of relax and have like what might be like my last normal summer at home. So I really did enjoy it, and it didn't hurt me going forward at all. I still was fine applying for internships in this year, and I've already accepted an internship for next summer as well. So like, really don't stress about finding an internship. If you have one, great. If not, just enjoy your summer. Go to the beach, spend time with your family, see your friends. Just don't stress about it. It'll be okay.
And
Yeah,
something I want to focus on, sorry, Bobby, I don't mean to cut you off,
First, go
but
ahead.
while we're on the topic of internships and the importance of internships, students and families, if you're watching, just know that a lot of the skills that you will gain in your first and second and third internships, you'll gain in other ways. And so Jimmy's example of working for a landscaping company, I mean, there was teamwork there. There was some supervisory work there. There were, I'm certain, long, tired hours there, right? And so these skills and these competencies that students will learn in clubs, with friends, service trips, vacations. I mean, Bridget taking a class over the summer, right? There's a time management and an organizational skill that you have to gain in doing that on a hot summer day in July. And so families, I know that it's exciting to think about internships. And I know that especially at a school in New York City, this was probably one of your determining features of why you picked Fordham. But please know and understand that at the Gabelli School, we have a real focus and importance on this foundation of you as a whole person, and those skills that you're going to gain in all of your experiences, being a roommate, commuting, joining clubs, will give you those skills to be successful in future internships. It's not just the work life that will give you those skills.
Yeah, I can also speak on personal experience.
Please.
The work that you put in your classrooms and your outside opportunities, regardless of them being internships, they really do pay off. Especially being in a school like Fordham, companies recognize that, and they understand that you go to Fordham. It's a great school to be a part of. Yeah, and it's recognizable. So yeah, we hope that calms some nerves. Also, another great question for Jimmy and Bridget. In looking back, what are 1 to 2 things that you wish you had realized, or tips that you can recommend to make the transition to Gabelli seamless, or just a little bit easier than people anticipate?
Jimmy, do you want to start?
I can start, yeah. So definitely one thing that I did, and I'm so happy I did, is, it sounds very cliche, but really get involved. Like, I went to the club fair, and I think I took a flyer from every club that was there, and it wraps all the way around Eddie's. So there was tons and tons of clubs. And go to as many first meetings as you can. They all have free pizza, or almost all of them have free pizza. And you'll meet people that way, and you'll find interests that you never would have known that you had. For example, my freshman year, I got to go on a global outreach trip to India. I got involved in Social Innovation 360, the Social Innovation Collaboratory, just tons of unique, I was also an RHA, like Bridget was, tons of unique experiences that help you meet people, they help you stay busy, and they really help you start to feel at home at Fordham. So definitely get involved your freshman year. I'm sorry if it sounds like tired and cliche, but it could not be more true. And then the second thing is don't don't be afraid of networking. I know that you're going to hear networking so much, but networking is really just talking to people, like building relationships, getting to know one another. You network with your peers in your class, people, professors, um, professional development people, and then also people at career fairs. It is really, really important, and starting to build those relationships freshman year will pay dividends your sophomore year and your junior year when you're able to apply for the positions at the companies that you started building relationships with in your freshman year, because they will know who you are, and that's always something that companies are looking for. So don't be afraid of networking. I know it's really intimidating, but it's just having a conversation. So those would be my 2 tips.
I think for one thing, I was so homesick my freshman year. And so something that really helped me was honestly just talking to my RA. I became really close with my RA. They're a resource there for you. And then also I went to the dean's office and I said, look, I like my classes. I like my roommates. I've made a few friends, but I'm homesick. And they kind of helped me, along the path. And honestly, just staying busy was something that really, really, really helped me and made my life a lot easier. So for me, something I'd always wanted to do was row. I always wanted to do a rowing program, and my high school didn't have one. So I signed up for the novice team like the first week of school. So, from the middle of September until I left the team in the middle of February, I was up at like 5 a.m., 6 days a week, going to practice, and then working out on my own. And it was something that for me was so foreign, but also so fun. And it really helped me meet a lot of people. But on top of that, I just joined things like Jimmy said, anything that sounded interesting, I tried to do. I also would suggest entering like any ticket raffle that is held by any club. You can get like $5 Yankee tickets, $5 Broadway tickets, concert tickets to like do a helicopter tour of the Manhattan skyline, things like that are just so deeply discounted that you'd never be able to find if you weren't a student. And I've won like 3 or 4 raffles. My friends have won a bunch, and it's like been a great way to do quintessential like city things without having to pay. And then I also think one thing that helped me was the first week of school, my roommates and I left our door open. Like if we were in the room, we had our door open. So that way people who were walking down the hall would just like pop in and say hi. And it helped me really connect with people on my floor. And by the end of the year, I was able to know everyone in my dorm's name, which I think was something that at first I never thought was going to happen. But now, like, I could be like, oh, you walking past me on Eddie's, you lived in my dorm freshman year, this was your name, like all of these crazy little things. I would also suggest, doing something that maybe is a little scary for you or a little outside of your comfort zone if you feel like you're up to it. So maybe that's, joining a club that you don't know anything about, but it just seems interesting. Like Jimmy said, you can always go to the first meeting. If it's not something you want to do, like you'll probably know after the first meeting, and then you don't have to go again. It's really all about trying new things, and then you kind of weed it down to the things that you're interested in and that work with your schedule. I also think making sure that you have a support system. So just keep reaching out to your family and friends from home, and you can do it. It's freshman year is scary and it's hard, but afterwards, like once you get through those initial periods of maybe homesickness or fear even, you're able to really take the most out of Fordham and out of being in Gabelli. And I think that that's something on the days when it was hard, just looking to that in the future.
Great. Those are such great answers. I also feel the same way. Fordham is a community where if you walk past somebody and you know them, you will say hi and they will say hi to you. It's just such a friendly environment. So I can also speak on that too. I experienced some of the same things my freshman year. Another great question, now that you both are rising upperclassmen, Did you find that upperclassmen in the Gabelli School of Business were welcoming and eager to assist you when you were an incoming freshman? What were your relations like with upperclassmen at that time?
First, I just think it's crazy that I'm an upperclassman. It feels surreal. I feel like I just moved in yesterday. But my freshman year, upperclassmen in Gabelli and also just upperclassmen in FCRH as well were so welcoming to me. My freshman year was named Devin. He actually worked with me. I'm an RA now. He was on my staff this past year, and he's one of my best friends. My freshman advising mentor was named Dan Groff, and he was also an Eagles fan from outside of Philadelphia, and he has helped me out so much. I actually just went golfing with him like last week. I made so many upperclassmen friends, and they were really able to tell me about their experiences and help me to kind of get over the fears that I was having, because they told me that it's normal and that they had been in that same spot too. And it's kind of unbelievable to look at like people that you look up to and think that they felt the same way as you. But it gave me so much more confidence, especially in like my classes. They would help talk to me about different teachers. There's tutoring available. And then sometimes your friends will just help you out with things as well. The upperclassmen were so welcoming, and it really made my transition into Fordham and my experience in Gabelli a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I had the same experience, honestly. I met a few upperclassmen through different clubs. My orientation leader, I was really close with my freshman year, and I would always, meet her for lunch and say hi when I passed her, walking to class. Also through WFUV, I met a lot of upperclassmen because it's the type of thing where a lot of people, join their freshman year and stay all 4 years. I also had a upperclassman in my consulting cup group because she originally was in just the liberal arts college, and then for her sophomore year she joined Gabelli, so she was like a year behind, but she was one of my closest friends throughout all of my sophomore year. And so I really got to see how she was like navigating her junior year and what she did. And then again this past year, watching her get ready for graduation. And so I think that you're definitely welcomed into the community. And, even if you don't know someone, I've made friends with people that I've asked for directions for when I was lost my freshman year. So honestly, it's open and welcoming, and people want you to do well, and they're going to help you to the best of their capabilities.
And students, again, just to reiterate, you all have in your inboxes right now an introduction from at least 2, if not 3 upper class students who will be working with you as of last week, all through your first year. And so you will get to know these FAM members, again, the freshman advising mentors, very, very well. You'll get to know their friends very well. It's a very, very in-depth program for you to automatically meet 2 to 3 upper class students.
Great. I have 2 more questions. Dean Parr, this question is for you. In regards to the summer reading books, can you explain a little bit about that and like the time frame of like all that?
Absolutely. So all of you will be reading The Promise of a Pencil this summer by Adam Braun. It's a great book. I already see Jimmy smiling and nodding about it. It's a great book, and it aligns so closely with the Gabelli values of business for good and business